Sri Lanka has many beautiful places, but Sigiriya honestly feels different. Right in the middle of green forests and flat land, a massive rock rises straight into the sky. From far away already looks strange, and when you get closer, it's even more surprising. Because this rock is not just a rock. It was once a royal palace, a fortress, and a city in the sky. Today, we're exploring Sigiriya, also called Lion Rock, one of the most fascinating ancient sites in the world. But before we climb the famous rock, we begin at a quieter place nearby. Just a short distance from Sigiriya stands Pidurangala Temple. This temple is very old, more than 1,500 years. According to history, when King Kashyapa started building the palace on Sigiriya Rock, the monks who lived there needed a new place. So the king moved them to Pidurangala and built a temple for them. The temple is peaceful. Small shrines sit between large rocks. Prayer flags move slowly in the wind, and the sound of birds fills the forest. Inside one cave, there is a long reclining Buddha statue carved from brick and stone. It's quiet here, almost like the place is protecting ancient secrets. But just above the temple, another adventure begins. Now we climb Pidurangala Rock. The path goes through forest and large boulders. Sometimes you have to step carefully between rocks, but the climb is worth it, because from the top, you see something incredible. Across the green jungle, rising from the earth like a giant tower, is Sigiriya Lion Rock. From this distance, you really see how strange it looks. A huge block of stone, standing alone in the middle of the landscape. And suddenly you start wondering, how did people build a palace on top of that? But before we go there, something magical sometimes happens in the morning. Early in the morning, mist often covers the forests around Sigiriya. Slowly the fog moves across the trees. And then the top of Lion Rock appears above the mist. It almost looks like an island floating in the clouds. The sight is honestly a little shocking. You realize this place must have looked just as mysterious 1,500 years ago. Maybe that's exactly why King Kashyapa chose this rock. And now it's time to get closer. Now we stand at the base of Sigiriya Lion Rock. This rock is about 200 meters tall. But what makes it truly amazing is its history. Around the 5th century, Sri Lanka had a king named Kashyapa. His story is honestly a little dark. Kashyapa took the throne after overthrowing his own father, the king. But the rightful heir, his brother Magallana, escaped the country. Kashyapa feared his brother would return with an army, so he decided to build the strongest fortress possible. And he chose this rock. Imagine this. Over 1,500 years ago, workers built staircases, gardens, pools, and an entire palace on top of this massive rock. The entrance halfway up the rock was shaped like a giant lion. Visitors had to walk through the lion's mouth to reach the palace. That's why the place is called Lion Rock. Today, only the huge lion paws remain. But once, the full lion sculpture stood here. Kashyapa lived on top of the rock like a king in the sky. Below the rock were royal gardens, fountains, and water systems. These gardens are actually among the oldest landscaped gardens in the world. But Kashyapa's story did not end peacefully. In 495 AD, his brother returned with an army. During the battle, Kashyapa's elephant suddenly turned aside. His soldiers thought he was retreating, and they abandoned him. Seeing defeat was certain, Kashyapa took his own life. After that, Sigiriya stopped being a royal palace. It later became a Buddhist monastery. And for centuries, the jungle slowly covered it, until explorers rediscovered it again. Standing here today, it's hard to believe humans built all this so long ago. After climbing the stairs, you finally reach the top, and the view is honestly unbelievable. Green forests stretch in every direction. Small lakes shine between the trees, and the wind moves strongly across the plateau. Up here once stood the royal palace of King Kashyapa. Today, only the stone foundations remain. But archaeologists found evidence of pools, gardens, and royal buildings here. Imagine living here above the entire kingdom, watching the land from the sky. It must have felt powerful and maybe a little lonely too. Around Sigiriya, nature is everywhere. Dense forests cover the land. Elephants sometimes walk through nearby national parks. Birds fly across the sky, and wide fields stretch across the countryside. Even from the ground, the rock dominates the landscape. No matter where you stand, you can see it, like a giant guardian watching over the land. But Sigiriya is not only about the rock. At its base are some very impressive gardens. At the foot of Lion Rock lie the Sigiriya Royal Gardens. These gardens were designed more than 1,500 years ago, and surprisingly, many parts still work today. There are water gardens, terrace gardens, and boulder gardens. Stone pathways lead through pools and fountains. During rainy season, some fountains still flow just like they did centuries ago. Engineers believe the water system used underground channels and pressure from elevation. For ancient times, this level of design was incredibly advanced. Walking through the gardens today feels peaceful, but long ago, this area was full of royal life, servants, guards, and visitors moving through the palace grounds. Now we begin the final part of the journey. Climbing Lion Rock today is an experience. The path goes through gardens, then stone staircases, then metal steps attached to the rock wall. Halfway up, you reach the famous lion paws. These giant stone paws are all that remain of the original lion entrance. Standing there, you suddenly realize how massive the sculpture must have been. From here, the climb continues upward. The wind gets stronger, the stairs get steeper, and the view becomes wider and wider. People stop often, not just because the climb is tiring, but because the scenery is simply too beautiful to ignore. When you finally reach the top, you understand why this place is one of the most famous sites in Asia. Sigiriya is more than just a rock. It's a story of power, fear, ambition, and incredible human creativity. A fortress in the sky, gardens built centuries ahead of their time, and a king whose dream still stands today in stone. Places like this remind us how amazing ancient civilizations really were. If you ever visit Sri Lanka, Sigiriya is something you truly should not miss. Until our next journey, keep exploring the world with Mesmerizing Guide.